introduce our panel members to the audience with a huge round of applause, everyone. And I'd like to start with Ms. Raina Day. Ms. Day is a serial entrepreneur, brand strategist, and professor. She has done her master's in marketing management from Essar Business School, Barcelona. Raina founded Marque and Brew, a brand consulting firm, in 2020. She has also built a past product, Chitty, and is a partner at Brownman Global, an export trading company. In 2022, with a following of 43,000 plus on LinkedIn and unanimous appreciation for her writing and workplace advocacy, Raina has built a niche for herself in the branding sector pan-India. Welcome, ma'am.
Next, we have Mr. Ritesh Agrawal. Mr. Agrawal is a chartered accountant and is currently the Chief Financial Officer at Ethos Limited, the India's largest chain of luxury watch boutiques, having 50 stores in 17 cities across the country. Ethos is an authorized retailer of over 60 premium and luxury watch brands such as Omega, Tag Heuer, Bulgari, Oris, Breitling, Rado, and Longines. We welcome you, sir.
We would also like to welcome Mr. Janesh Kumar. Mr. Kumar is a performance-driven professional with over 17 years of combined experience in human resources across industries like fintech, telecommunication, pharma, sales, R&D, and FMCG, driving strategic and operational HR initiatives in leadership partner with MD and CEO, CXOs, executive board members. He has over 9 years of experience in heading HR function and leading teams.
Next, we have Mr. Alok Patnia. Mr. Patnia spearheads Taxmantra Global as a managing partner. He also leads Profit Board Ventures, the investment banking arm of TMG, a chartered accountant, ex-KPMG and EY. He is also an angel investor with 20 plus years of experience in global tax and structuring, investment banking, mergers and acquisition, and growth strategies. Taxmantra Global has been awarded Global Tax and Legal Advisory Firm at Times Business Awards 2021, issued by Times of India Group. We welcome you, sir.
Now we also have with us Mr. Laksh Malhotra. Mr. Malhotra is the senior consultant at Sapient Servants Private Limited. He has more than 8 years of experience in the world of valuation, chartered engineering services, techno-economic viability study of various industries. He has been a registered valuer under the provisions of Section 247 of the Companies Act 2013. He has also been a panel valuer on various public sector banks and has serviced many large corporates in India and across the world. Welcome, sir.
Next we have Mr. Ranjan Jindal. Mr. Jindal is a chartered accountant and has more than 21 years of industry experience in fields relating to financing, accounting, taxation, and management information system. He is the Chief Financial Officer in Essar Oil and Gas Exploration and Production Limited, and during his tenure at Visa, he was appointed as the Chief Financial Officer of Visa Power Limited, a company setting up a 1200 megawatt independent power plant in Raigad. We welcome you, sir. Now, I would like to invite Shri Ram Goel to present a memento to all the panelists.
Thank you so much, sir. I will call Mr. Sumeet Arora again to take over the session for the second panel discussion. Thank you, sir.
Second innings with me. Is it afternoon or no? It's afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. And we have our second panel with us. We're going to talk about business as we did in our first panel, and we're going to go one step up. To go one step up, we're not going to start with startups now. We're going to get into business. We're going to talk about business scalability. We're going to talk about business growth, and we're going to take up there, specifically with the lady in the only lady on the panelist here. We're going to start with branding. Does really branding affect valuations of companies, health of company in any way, and what are your views about from both you as well as the finance guys over here? How do they feel about it?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, first and foremost, I only have around 3 years of work experience, and I have been running my own brand consulting firm for 2.5 years. So I'm pretty sure everyone else has like a cumulative 80 plus years of experience. So I have more to learn from you than otherwise. But how I look at branding has less to do with numbers and data sets and valuations, and more to do with what lasts a century. So Louboutin works as well as a Crocs. Crocs is all about, if you think of Crocs as a person, you'll think of it as like a shabby guy who doesn't care so much about fashion. He's all about utility and will wear the same pair of shoes for 5 years. When you think about Louboutin, you expect a girl to be able to afford it, so she belongs to a certain social stature, and she probably has 40 pairs of shoes, Louboutin being one of them. So it's not about creating the most fancy brand that you can. I think it's about creating a humanoid and sticking to it. Even when everything in the market asks you to do the next trending reel or do some flash sale on Diwali, or there are different marketing things that can be done, but which probably doesn't make sense for your brand. So for me, how I look at branding is that, okay, as long as you can stay true to that humanoid that you have created initially and do it across, like when it's very difficult to do it, I think that's how you win, at least from a storytelling perspective. Numbers, I think the others are better equipped to do that.
So for me, brand and money both are concepts. Can we agree to that? Yeah, CFOs would say, no. Money is what you see physically in hand. And does it really?
Yeah, you're right. You see, a chartered accountant or a finance guy will always feel that any money spent on branding is waste of money. So we don't, because we feel that there is nothing tangible, visible as a return. But that's a wrong concept. Things have changed. And it's not that advertisement or branding or reputation building doesn't pay back. It comes back in a big scale, and today's chartered accountants, today's financial professionals need to accept that as a fact. It's no less than a manufacturing expenditure.
The industry I belong to, it's storytelling. If your story is right, then your product is right, your brand is right. And that is where, so if you invest in your brand, so it is not like the current year P&L that you are looking from as a chartered accountant that we see. It is the investment into the business which will inculcate, which will result in benefit for upcoming year. So as in what we see as an investment into the marketing, advertisement, brand building, brand positioning, that's what we do.
I think branding is very, very different, and I take up from where Sir ended. See, branding is something which will help you in a bad day, and it will help you to survive. And if you take an example, if it's raining heavily and you are standing outside, if as an individual you have a good brand, people trust you, you have credibility, people will let you in their house because it's raining, it's bad night. So I think COVID went and companies who have created that trust, credibility, all into it is what brand to my mind is. You talk about Tatas. People say, I want to work for Tatas and I want to work for life into Tatas. That doesn't mean Tata is paying the highest salary and all those things. So I think branding is huge, and branding is something which will take a business from point A to point B, wherein the business might not have the deep pocket to invest and spur on marketing and advertisements. So branding is very, very critical, and I will talk something about startups, even though you said that we will not talk about startups. You know, as a startup, the branding starts with the branding of the founder, in terms of how the world perceives him. And the branding transits from that person to the brand of that venture. And that happens, then it becomes very, very great story. And everyone has a story. It's about how you narrate your story and how you create a brand around it.
So branding, when we are really looking at, it's just not advertising and marketing. Yes, it's also about storytelling. It's how leaders live or the organizations live. To me, when I look at branding, you even see too much of it maybe on T-shirts, on buses, on everything. And you would like to add something to it?
You see, branding does not only mean putting hoardings, appointing a good brand agency to sell a product. Customer today is smart enough. Branding will come with time. I thought when you named Tatas, you were moving towards the market which Tatas are built. I am from a steel background. Even today, people are ready to pay more for TMT bars of Tatas. So that branding has not just come by hoardings of Virat Kohli or ABC on a bus, but with over continuous delivery, perseverance, and sustained operations.
And how do you put it on your balance sheet, the branding part of it, or even human for that? When we say HR is a asset, but the finance guys put them in the cost bracket, right? Yeah, you don't put them in assets.
See, brand will directly flow into P&L on the income side if you do it well. I can give you one example, because we have just come out of a very, very drastic pandemic. And many companies said that we don't want to fire anyone. Even we will pay bonuses and we will take care of each and everyone. Even at our level, we said that we want to insure everyone. We moved ahead and even did term insurance for many of our people. All those small things add, because then these people will be with you and will do everything for what your company requires. So branding actually sits and translates into your income.
So from HR practices to what do you really do as processes, or even how do you really handle people, branding takes a point there. You want to add something, sir?
No, definitely. So gone are the days when people used to rely only see the hoardings and everything over there. So one of the panelists rightly mentioned. So it is actually the culture inside the organization, and what all things which are being, all the practices which are which a company does. So, and the customer is very smart, much smarter than we think he is. And with the age of social media, and everybody has become very aware. Any company announces any policy which is good for any employees, it spreads over the social media like a fire. And that, all these things which initially, as sir said, that might look at as a cost, they help in your brand building.
True. So any new practices which come up in HR initially is innovation, but then it becomes a benchmark, and then it becomes kind of needed throughout to be done.
Yeah, in fact, I was hearing about a company in the COVID when there were a lot of attrition. Attrition was at its peak during that time, especially in the tech domain. I'm not sure how many people are aware about it. There was a company which came out with a scheme that they were giving out luxury bikes to all their employees.
Yeah, one car.
The smile, huh?
A car for every employee on Diwali was also very big news there.
That was a very big
bonus,
news, yeah. With the smile on the panel, people in the panel, so they got which company I'm talking about. So yeah, so they were giving, I think, some luxury bike and some BMW bikes. So, and it spread like the virality. So they were playing on the virality and everything. So yeah.
This brings me to another question, and I'll point it to Janesh specifically from the CHRO part of it, is when I look at human resources, the CFOs look at it as a fixed cost. And nowadays, fixed cost is not so kind of acceptable. They would like it to be variable cost. Business नहीं है तो लोग हटाओ नहीं तो कम से कम contract पे लाओ. Don't take them on roll. Don't kind of adopt them as babies. What does that HR and the finance fight or loggerhead happens in the organization here?
It's a wonderful topic, and I realize that there are only 5 HR people in this room and rest all are finance people, so I'm still taking this risk. And Vikash, during his introduction, very rightly mentioned that finance will show them as fixed cost, or maybe to manage the sheet, they will move it to the third party and then show it under some other head and all. It's a mindset change which is required, and which we spoke about branding also. If we don't see people as assets, it will continue and there is no solution to that. You need to see them as investments, and there are now investments in terms of why they don't see it as an investment, because finance feel that we don't own them. That's not my property, and hence it is something which is a cost. But if I see what they will give me after 2 years, 3 years or 4 years in terms of tacit knowledge, in terms of what they have built, and especially the startup fraternity will definitely agree with me that after a year or 2 years they start actually delivering for what I have invested in. And in terms of getting away with this cost and all, it reminds me of a joke which happens in future, 2060 let's say. There was a group of scientists who happened to get an appointment with God, and they go and meet the God. And they tell him that you have done wonderful creations, you have grown old, and now we have reached to a stage where we can also create whatever you have created.
Wow.
So it's time for you to retire. So the God says, is it so? No. Tell me what you can do. And the scientist took some soil, draw some picture of a baby in this soil and do some science there, and the baby comes alive. And he said, no, that's the best creation you have done and I am ready to do that. The God says that first you have to get your own soil.
Very true.
So that's the thing which we need to understand, that why I need people in the organization. It is secondary whether I am getting them on off-roll part or third party or gig workers. If you need human, I need to get into details and depth of that why I need human for startup, why I need human for organizations. And that will answer everything. Till the time, now if God has left the human with a limit on capability, it's a little philosophical discussion, but then he could have also created us like robots and everything is set. But then he left us with some potential to be unleashed. Let's agree to that. There are certain universal truths. Sun rises in the east, it will always rise from the east. We are created by God, let us agree to that. We will not get into the debate other way around. So if he has left that, we need to use that left piece. And there the God is giving you message, please have that humanness with the people.
Wow.
Don't treat them as cost, they are humans.
Yeah, so don't put them even as assets, don't treat them as costs, they are human, let them be human. That's wonderful. Just to bring about an example, I have a friend who works in IBM in US, and he has created around 15 patents which he and the organization co-own. now can we call that human being as an asset for the organization, or yet he's a cost? Yeah. I'm pointing this from the HR perspective to the finance guys. That's
See, I may appear to be a conservative accountant, but the accounting, whether you charge the salary cost to profit and loss account or balance sheet, does not in any manner change the way you treat your human capital. ये बोलने वाली बात है. आप उसको fixed cost मानिए, variable cost मानिए, जो भी इज्जत देनी है इज्जत दीजिए ना. Who is stopping you from giving him the respect or the appreciation he deserves for? Somewhere, I'm a 2002 pass out, so we used to, somewhere in the O&M chapter, I think there was something called human resource accounting. And there were philosophers who suggested that human being or the employee resource should be considered as an asset in the balance sheet. And I think that was only because of the reason people were against that view, because they were not believing that I own those assets. So why didn't that accounting come up? If that was so true and that was so important, 20 years back I read it. Even today, human resource is being charged to the profit and loss account. Variable, fixed, that is separate. The reason is, the attrition level has gone so high. Gone are those days. ONGC में join किया, retirement ONGC से. 3 साल, 5 साल max. The attrition rate has gone so high. What will you do when the person leaves? Will you charge that asset back to the profit and loss account? Will you remove it from your asset list? So accounting should not determine the status of an employee in an organization. If he is an asset, the treatment is more important rather than the accounting.
wonderful. This requires a good round of applause when a CFO says that. No? So let's take this out from branding and HR to get into the money part of it. We really look at diversification versus standardization as a part of scaling. What are your comments on it? What would your views be on it? How do you take this ahead?
So I think in terms of, you have to give a lot of freedom and diversity in the initial stage when the product is coming up, when we have to try new ideas. And when you reach a point where you see that this product is ready for the market and there is a GTM to be done on it, then you have to bring in standardization. So it's about at what stage of the product you are and at what strategy you will have at that stage of the product. Because initially you have to give and allow it to fail initially and then reach a point wherein you bring in standardization. So I think that's very important. So every organization would have different structures and products wherein different kind of strategies can be implemented.
I agree with him. Majorly, it's like where, at what age is the organization is into, and what is the market potentials from the organization point of view, whether the product acceptability is there or not. Building that acceptability, doing pivot or at the right time to get the product right for the consumers, solving the right problem at the right time, then you can create. Once you have that product, then you can go for a standardization, because until your product is acceptable to the market, you cannot do the standardization.
One of the fights which I see, and specifically it comes from people at different leadership level, is they say we have a standard product, it's working wonderful, and then it's going to go down someday. It's not going to remain on the peak. And I need to start developing a new product so that by the time the peak comes down, another peak comes up, so as to we have that. And the fight is that the budgets don't come in for a new product as much as it should come in for existing product it does. As CFOs, what take or what would you like to bring in on those thoughts?
Change constant.
Change is constant.
If you don't change, people will change you.
True. Anything about budgets or about strategies which you would like to add to it?
Primarily, you need to be on the toe. Like, as we were talking about the startups in the first panel. So, is it all the business? They have to be on the toe. They need to review their strategy, to review their product capabilities that they're offering, whether it will be in the service, whether it will be in manufacturing, what they're offering. They need to be sure, they need to understand the consumer mentality, they need to understand the market. And then if they are not adapting to the market, nobody is going to help.
Yeah, they would be left behind maybe someday.
Absolutely.
You know, what has changed in last 10 years is the pace of change, right? A company which would continue to run and make money for 10, 20 years will not happen now. And the reason is that there were a lot of monopolies in terms of scale, in terms of knowledge, which was there with larger organizations, which is not there today. And because of that, if you do not continue to evolve, and you should always as a leader think that this thing will get redundant, right? So the moment you hit peak or prior to peak, you have to continue to invest time. And as a policy, what we do is that we say that 35 to 40% of our time should go into knowledge, research, and what's coming in new and what will happen. Because if you don't do that, you will be another Nokia, right? So you have to continue to do that.
Do we have a specific department or something for this, or how does it happen in your organizations? How do you really set up in big organizations where everything is so standard happening, say maybe at Essar Oil, energy, years it is happening. How do you really look at for change, new energy, new things coming up?
You see, before I answer to that question, there was one session on the startups, the previous one. Consumer, say for example, I need a water bottle. Be it Bisleri or be it ABC, I'm not bothered. I'm not going to pay any premium or I will not have any mercy कि ये product किसी startup का है, मुझे support करना है. So the biggest issue which a startup faces is the competition. The small bottle has to compete Bisleri in the market. No one is bothered. Why should I pay premium for a startup? Now coming back to a old organization, say for like Essar, how do we take care of the competition? How do we take care of our continuity of existence in the market? There is a separate team, right? And that has not been developed in a single day. The study of the market, the study of the customer mindset, the study of the reaction which any action we take today, be it our lenders, be it investors, be it the consumer base. It's a rigorous study and it's a continuous process.
And are there any, pointing it back to our individual HRO here, who counted how many HRs are there in the room, are there any behavioral things, are there any some justifications which we really look at about for various departments or various roles which we look at? And then maybe we'll go to academicians as well to ask this question.
Yes, of course. No, that's what we call as hiring the right resource. Every function has to behave in a different way. So they do the justice to the function of, especially finance and HR are the villains in the organization, especially during the appraisal times.
True.
So we need to be finance from that perspective. He was mentioning now accounting, auditing, controlling. So of course the business doesn't look as the best friends, and so is the case with HR. And to do that, now I was reading a book called as The Courage to be Disliked. Not every human being have that skill, but let me tell you, the finance and HR has that skill. If they don't have that skill, they would not be able to survive in the organization.
They cannot be in the popularity contest.
Yes.
Yeah, HR does sometimes, but finance can never be.
Yeah, so it is very
cannot
important.
afford to do it.
When I am hiring, I have to look at the human side, and this is that human side which I need to look at for what function, what role I'm going to hire this person.
So what are your expectations from academicians and kind of first day productive? That's what the finance wants. No induction, nothing. Ajao, plug in and play. Start working. Give us output.
That's, I think, hypothetical and virtual. I'll still call that. It cannot happen. Any way it cannot happen. No, I again go back to the same scenario. Till the time we are humans, we will have to respect that cycle. And the previous panel also spoke about. Now, an organization is an organism, living organism, where different organs are coming together and building something, and then the output. it takes time. If
The
we
gestation
want,
period.
if we want to deliver a baby in 4 months, it will not happen. It will take 9 months. So we need to respect that. A little bit of flexibility here and there. If you are hiring ready-made material, he will also take time because he needs to settle into the culture, which is again another deep subject. Every organization has a different culture. Every team has a different culture. So you need to give time to that individual. And the thumb rule says that there is no science, no data and all, but research and thumb rule says that 12 months is the time with which any human being will require to reach to its potential, where he will say that now I have acquired the culture, now I am aware of the place around, now I'll start delivering.
True.
So that patience with startup, with humans, we need to have.
Taking this thought to the branding part of it, if we could really leverage branding to hire people, what would you suggest that big organizations could bring in? Because we have academicians here as well. I'll come to Niloy Sarkar and Mr. Amitabh in a minute. But if you could just highlight on.
So I will give my own example. Initially, when I started the company, everything was okay. Beginner's luck, got the first few clients, and then this radio silence, right? So that's when I started thinking like, okay, cold calls, cold emails, nothing was working. I was clearly a very shitty salesperson. So I thought, okay, what else can I do? I can write. So that's, I think, when I started writing on LinkedIn. And I have never considered myself the kind of writer, sure, 20 people will like it, but the rest 2,000 might not. So that's how I thought of my writing to be. But somehow people resonated with it on LinkedIn, and it helped me build a personal brand for myself. And while this definitely, like today, I have zero BD efforts that I put in, at least sales-wise. All my clients come through LinkedIn, directly or indirectly. That includes some, like billion-dollar companies also. And otherwise, I think as far as hiring is concerned, I also don't have to put in much effort because people join me because they look up to me. Of course, I hire people who are generally younger than me. So they look up to me, look at me as a mentor, an elder sister. And because they join like that, of course, I only hire people I have respect for. So when I hire them, I think of it like, oh my God, like my company is nothing. This person could have joined Ogilvy or others because they are so good. They would have gotten more money too. So I have that respect for them that allows them to just from day one do their own thing. I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? We lose a client.
So can on these lines something be suggested to bigger organizations to create individual brands of, say, the leadership people on the top who could write, who could present, who could go to campuses and create a brand in some way?
I think two things. One is that while we were just talking about that it takes around 12 months to fit into a culture, it doesn't take 12 months to be friends with a new person when you join college, right? Why should it be a forceful thing where you're being pushed to fit into a culture? Why not put in more effort into actually being very candid about what goes on in the organization and finding people who will already be a part of it? Just like you can't make somebody who wears the Louboutin wear Crocs. So why force them to understand why Crocs is okay? In the same way, you can't ask someone who wears Crocs to fit into like 6-inch heels just because others will think of you in a certain way. So I think just also being able to fit better will definitely reduce the attrition rate because it has happened with me. And also I think keeping the promises once they have joined the organization, that becomes very important. And that's something that one of my ex-employees said on his last day, that when I joined, Raina said XYZ, oh, you'll come at 10, you'll leave at 6. I thought, ha, theek hai, 8 p.m. Because that's how, like the marketing industry has a very bad reputation. But because I kept my end of the promise, he stayed until he had to go to TIS for his master's. So I think that becomes important. And big organizations, of course, I'm a personal branding expert, so I work with chair people, CEOs, entrepreneurs, help them build the brand of that good person. Otherwise, product-wise, of course, I'm sure you're good. That's the key, right? You have to have a good product. But being a likable person, because at the end of the day, nobody knows how good you really are.
Sure.
Like front end, everybody looks good. So in the end, I think people want to do business with people they like. And leveraging every platform possible, including this right now for me, to make sure that people like me, people want to do business with me because they don't know how good or bad brand building I'm at, but at least I'm someone they would want to have a chat with. I think that itself is 20% of the work done.
Let me ask the young fraternity here to show of hands. What would you more prefer, a brand logo to join or a person whom you know would prefer? So if you would like to join a brand logo, raise of hands please, as over a person. 1, 2, okay, slow hands, okay. And a person whom you know, like what she said. Wow, quite a few. So that's a straight away yes to building brands within the organization as people. Let's ask some academicians here. We have Niloy Sarkarji here, Mr. Amitabh. What are your views on there? Can we have a mic that side, please? Yeah. What are your views about organizations and your comments about the brand per se, and how do you treat that?
For as branding is concerned, educational institution, college, it is, I feel, something different from toothpaste or FMCG and other goods. One person can buy a bottle of water, one toothpaste, he will lose 100 rupees. But here he will not lose the rupees only, he will lose the time also and career also. So the branding also must be done in a different way. Here you have to reach to the heart, and branding need to be done full year. With a different type of event, you have to reach to the heart of the parents, you have to reach to the hearts of the student. You have to earn the trust. Maybe by utilizing, by the donating book to the student, different type of free examination, preparation. Means it is something, education is a business of giving, it's not a taking. Once you will start giving, you will definitely get.
True.
Like there are so many good institutions, they earn money by selling the prospectus and form 10 to 20 crore per year.
Wow. CFO's attention.
Yeah, because they have built the trust. I will not say the brand, they will build the trust. They have reached to the heart of the people. So it is very important for the education. Lot of people, they invest into education and think today I'm investing, tomorrow I will get the money. Okay, you go and take a tractor dealership, you will get money tomorrow. But in education, no, you will not get money tomorrow. You have to work for the society, you have to work. Of course, you will get so much money that you will not able to keep that trust and reputation. But you have to work like that. It is different type of branding. It is a personal branding. You have to see, you have to take care of your academician, take care of your professor, take care of your event, take care of everything. It's not just कि आपने कॉलेज खोल दिया, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बना दिया, and people will come. सब चलता है. You may create a very beautiful infrastructure. Italian tiles you can put.
But finally, it is the placement that happens. The
it's
people
a placement. It's a teacher. It's a education. It's a quality which you are giving. That's the
lead factor.
That's it. Three things I feel: medicine, education, and food. जंगल में भी अच्छा करेंगे तो वहाँ भी लोग पहुँच जाएंगे.
क्या बात. Thank you, sir. Let's give him a round of applause. Bringing that discussion back to the panel, if I may take this from branding to sustainability we talked about, are there certain risks, concerns which have changed post-COVID 2023, something that you would like to really highlight as in your organization, something which is on the top of your mind? Because that's something which we want to go back to the people as well and the guests as we discuss here now, and then we'll go back to them.
I think what has changed is in terms of the mindset of the people with work from home, and when everything opened, many people would still want to work from home, right? So as an organization, how do you create that flexibility and hybrid system wherein you want to be flexible, but you also want to create a process wherein that flexibility can work in a productive manner? So I think that flexibility, and because attrition is a big challenge not only in IT but everywhere, and people have become very, very fearless in a sense that with consultancy and with contractor work and LinkedIn becoming so strong, so people fear, people don't get feared that I will lose my job, most of the people. So I think as an organization, how do you create that hybrid culture where you're still flexible, but there are processes and that flexibility can operate within that process is something which is very, very important. At least we as an organization face that in last 2-3 years.
Talent retention is the big issue, because now everybody is open. Everybody knows people are working from home or anywhere they are, whether they are in resort, whether they are in office, whether they are at home, wherever. So retaining the right talent in the organization is the biggest issue. So creating belongingness within that, the talent, is the important key factor that I take.
As far as retaining talent is there, what we as organizations should really look for is building a culture. The employee or any person, the colleague should belong to the organization. If he doesn't feel he doesn't feel he belongs to the culture, he doesn't resonate with the culture, no matter how much money you offer him, he'll exit. There were times when people were working for money. This generation, the Gen Z, what they call it, they're not working for money. They're working for a good culture. So having a good culture is not, it has no alternative. It is a necessity now.
What difference do you guys see between Gen Z, maybe Z1, 2, 3, 4, we can go till whatever Z's now, but looking at yourself as motivation maybe and looking at this new Z, is there really a leader has to change a lot to manage the new Z's?
Definitely. I mean, we never felt offended when our managers used to shout at us.
Let's call that out here. How many of you would feel offended if your manager shouts at you? They will. Okay. How many of you leave a job if your manager shouts at you? तुरंत हाथ उठाया एक दो लोगों ने. Now that's an interesting thing which leaders have to really look forward to. हमारे साथ तो हमको चलता था.
चल जाता था.
You see, every one of us, he is hungry of appreciation. Every one of us. So whenever a job is not done, we take 2 minutes to thrash that person very badly. तुमने ये नहीं किया, वो नहीं किया, ये नहीं किया, and it continues for whole of the month. But whenever he has done a good job, we don't appreciate. We take time. अरे नहीं ठीक है, तो हो ही जाना था, तुम नहीं करते कोई और करता. So why do we shy away in appreciating? The point it is culture. Culture is nothing but appreciating good. एक अच्छा किया, 3 अच्छा बोलिए. Let him feel that I am being unnecessarily boasting or being motivated. It's fine. So that is very important.
You want to add something?
I think you rightly said, and culture is so important, and in a way, we are at advantage now, because if we are able to build culture, we do not have to fight on the pay scale with larger organization. New generation doesn't care because they are not running after larger brands. They're looking about flexibility, looking about good life, culture. If I get up in the morning and I feel that I don't want to travel 2 hours to work, can I just sit at home and work? I mean, that kind of flexibility is what the new generation is looking at. So I think we are at an advantage if we understand this fact and build culture and flexibility around it.
I completely agree to this now. My father's time, they will retire from one organization because it was sustaining the life. And then the second generation, where the growth, moving up from lower middle class to upper middle class, lifestyle, afford, and those kind of things came. Now this generation right now has a lifestyle already. They care a damn about sustainability and wo sab chalega. They want a purposeful job.
Wow.
And they want something where they feel that yes, it is mine, I have done it, I want freedom, I want respect, and I want control. And hence what he's very rightly said is the culture, and that's where all leaders, we need to change. The way we used to expect, and you very rightly asked a question, my very first job, and my manager called me, and the exact statement was that bloody MBS, this is what you read? You can't even make an Excel sheet. And he threw paper on the table, of course not on the face, but on the table. I spent 3.5 years in that organization, and even today I believe that the best learning happened in that organization. You can't imagine to do it right now with the kind of generation we have. What if they punch you back? They have the courage to do that. So that's the change. And the cycle is going organic. Now everything is organic. My father is here in Calcutta, and he's saying that in my time, these unpolished dal and all used to be for poors.
Now it is for the rich.
Now it is for the rich. Everything is going organic, and so the human beings have to also go organic. You go to the medical sciences, what the doctors are saying, when a baby is born, you have to keep that baby close to your chest, that touch feel. Now that's what is the culture, that's what is the humanness. Yeah, what a lovely flower, memento. This could have happened on digital thing, but I am human. I appreciate this.
Agree.
So that piece, till the time I remain human, I would need the balance between the technology
and the human part
of this. The balance between work from home and office. Till the time you don't come to office, you don't get to know the culture. You don't get to know lot of things which happens on a cup of coffee. You don't get to feel and touch your colleagues in a right way, of course. You don't get to attach to a tribe. No?
I could really become a devil's advocate here for a while.
Yes.
I work with some teenagers and all, and then say, boss, digital connect is sufficient for us. You really don't have to call us to office. And we would work more than come and have a cup of tea with you. We check with the teenagers here for a while and check with them.
Let's do
of hands, if you would have to work more from home than coming to office. Yeah, few of us. धीरे से हाथ खड़े करें, VG देखना ले. I know some of you from the VG gang. But yes, that's definitely true. The connection of a person happens really when you are along, but digitally the connection is not that great.
Initially the taste of work from anywhere was good.
Yeah.
But now you look at psychiatrists are making the best,
lot of money.
Because
and
of isolation.
Even productivity is an important question which comes in. The managers find it very difficult to manage on a remote way.
It's a big dichotomy, no? I want people who are passionate, who will give their more than 24 hours, they will think about your brand day in, day out. How will they be passionate when you are just on the screen?
Yeah, and they're multitasking as well.
Multitasking also.
जरा pressure cooker बंद कर देना जब तक आप meeting attend कर रहे हो.
I have done that.
So that happens.
Behind the screen, you नीचे हाथ ऐसे ऐसे हो रहा होता है. Side में रहो, side में रहो. So it is very complex, and there has to be a right balance.
True.
That balance जिसने ढूंढ लिया, he would navigate fast.
Raina wants to add something here.
So between August 2020 and April 2022, I was completely remote. When I moved to Calcutta, I thought, okay, this is it. This is when hybrid needs to work at least, because some of my employees are still in, Delhi, Gujarat, etc. And I realized that the way Gen Z works, they are so accustomed to, like you said, pressure cooker and doorbell and Amazon packages, etc., that when they actually came together, they did not know how to handle it. And I tried it for a couple of months, but they would talk more than they would work. So they were quite because a lot of them entered the workforce during the pandemic. And I realized that, oh, okay, if they are okay with it, then let's just go completely remote. So today, even if I have an office space, I just work remotely. And I think it works for them. And not just that, I think I'm the last of Gen Y, right after I was born, like Gen Z started. And as a business person, I need to, of course, most of my clients are older than me. Most of the people I work are younger than me. But the kind of knowledge sharing that happens with the people younger than me, the kind of startup jargons they can teach me, the kind of new tech that they can tell me about is absolutely crazy. Recently, the co-founder of another digital agency said, Raina, don't be afraid of Mid-Journey and DALL-E and other creative AI apps, because you either get crushed by them or you become friends with them. So even something like that coming from someone younger is very valuable, because any 40-year-old would tell me like, oh, ab tumhara kya hoga? Ab to ye sab ho gaya. So I think like in that way, just actually being friends with them, trying to understand them. For me, I actually talk to 15, 14-year-olds as part of my job role, because if I don't understand how they talk, because English has changed so much for them, I will not be able to understand in another 10 years time when these people join the workforce. So I think just being updated, understanding that they are a certain way because of certain situations, and that it's better that they don't feel like they are trapped in a particular company because they have to feed like their family, is a good thing. That's what human beings were supposed to be like. We were not supposed to toil 12, 15 hours a day just to make ends meet. That's not, I just feel like at a human level, that's not how it was supposed to be. The fact that the younger generation are getting to choose, getting to live a laid back life is something to be appreciated. And within that framework, we should really try and get the best out of them. Yeah.
Sure.
In fact, from the tools at this juncture, like we are sitting in 2023, the tools and the technology is such. So earlier, if you would have asked me 6 months from now, I would have said working from office is the most productive way. But recently I was talking to one of the startups, so they said the tools that they have, it doesn't actually matter if anybody is working from, because, and when we actually think about it, there are companies who are working from multiple geographies, and there is no lack of productivity in them. It is just that how you manage the resources, how you track the productivity of the resources, and as long as you do that, it is the delivery doesn't get affected. Where actually they lose out on, what I feel is, and this is only my personal perspective, if you are working from office and vis-a-vis you are working from home, apart from work, there are a lot of things which used to we do. We do catch up with our colleagues. We do share our highs and lows with them. So that is something which I feel the people who are working from home, they might lose out on vis-a-vis people who work from office.
Sure.
As far as the productivity is concerned, productivity is not a challenge in today's world.
Wonderful. So we'll have one more, two more comments, and then we'll move out of this.
What you actually mentioned, that there are a lot of other things which we do. Those other things make us human.
Wow.
That's the importance of that. These virtual Microsoft Teams, Zoom people, Google Meet, I'm not against that. But then 9/11 Taj, what employees did cannot be done by people who are always on Microsoft Teams or Zoom or Google Meet. So we need to decide what kind of tribe I want in my organization. Do I want a tribe who would die for my brand, or do I want a tribe who are there young, knowledge squeeze karo and jao? So I believe the virtual world, complete virtual world, is for robots. For humans, needs to have that balance.
We'll take this debate some other day on this virtual versus.
They do lose out on the personal connect.
True. Any closing comments on this?
I would say the balance is very important. If you see from a long-term perspective, from a people management, in a virtual, as he rightly mentioned, people will work, productivity would not be any questions. It might there, but maybe in a long term, there will not be any connect from the organizations. They will not feel that they belong to organization, they are working for the organization. but they are not part of organization. So from a long-term perspective, there has to be a balance.
Wow. Thank you. We have a small quiz going on the screen for the audience. I believe a few of them have responded. It says, how much do you agree to the following? The first is branding improves the organization wealth and valuation. We have a score of 4.4 as average. Maximum of them agreeing to it. What has the panel to say on that?
Can I directly take up question number 2?
Okay, we'll skip one.
You see,
large companies should fund and handhold startups in their industry. Yeah.
No, it's not correct. It's not true.
It's not
large
true.
companies, large today, they were a startup when they started.
They shouldn't fund
if
and
life
handhold.
would have been so easy, Kannan would not have flied up from Bangalore to present his company. The same struggle I think Byju's might also have done. So there is a saying that smooth sea will never generate strong sailors. Let them struggle. And you see, if everyone can come up, you see, we were discussing there are some 130,000 new startups emerging daily. And how many success stories do we hear? So they need to have something different than what others have. So that struggle path is mandatory for everyone.
Okay. And the third one is expecting long-term loyalty from the new talent is a myth. There's exactly at the center, I believe it says, no, it's true as well. So
it's a balance.
So I think, what do you mean by loyalty?
Long-term staying with the organization. Loyalty, duration to be long-term.
No, I think in today's world, and I just want to share my personal perspective, in today's world, if someone wants to move out, have a different journey, does that mean disloyalty? As an entrepreneur, what I feel is that, and this I've learned over the last 10-15 years, many people have come, went, and initially I used to get very emotional. That how can someone leave me? Because you take things personally as an entrepreneur. But then you realize that every person has gone his own life and journey and ambition and aspiration. So very recently, someone very senior, he said that I want to go and pursue MBA at ISB for 2 years. I said that you continue to and convert yourself to an intern and continue to work with me, because who knows what happens after 2 years. So I think this loyalty, if someone is leaving me, he's disloyal to me, I think that concept needs to be changed. I don't believe in that.
Agree. The word loyalty can be, yes.
And also, continuity does not mean loyal.
Continuity does not mean productivity
Living
as well.
in between does not mean disloyalty.
Wow. Yes, Vikash, you want someone to give you a mic? And we have another question which is on while...
Sorry, this is out of turn, but thank you so much, Alok, for pointing that out, because loyalty can never mean staying in the same organization. You would not imagine. Today, in this forum, in this room, we've got people who've been my ex-bosses. We've got people who've been my ex-colleagues or seniors. We've got people who are currently working with me. And we've got people who are not working with me anymore, but are still here. And I think that's still loyalty, right? I've been loyal to them, they've been loyal to me. And I think loyalty is always a two-way street. It does not have to mean that we're working in the same organization. Like Janesh has been constantly talking about the people aspect, the human aspect. I think it's still the human aspect, right? We don't have to work under the same roof, but as long as we are there for each other, that makes sense.
Sure, thank you. And this question brings about something interesting. It says, what will you hire a person for? And you can choose 2 of them max. Qualifications, skills, experience, attitude, and others. So skills and attitude had got the most, and qualification and experience couldn't come on the top 2.
So delighted to see this.
Any academicians want to comment on this, or even Mr. Niloy Bishwas, who is there in the guests, if they would like to? Yeah, please.
Yeah, my name is Professor Niloy Sarkar. Actually, I am the Dean Academics and Advisor of Ambuja Neotia initiative, especially Ambuja Neotia University. There was really a nice discussion. I was listening all the comments from different dignitaries. So let me start from the branding. What you are talking about branding is really nice. But don't you think that branding is nothing but the perception? It is a perception of your customer or maybe your community, what they look at you. And branding actually, it's a mission and vision driven. So what is a mission and vision? If your vision and mission is very solid, so probably that and if you stick to that, probably branding comes automatic. So you need not to do anything, on above. I understand, it's my personal, experience. What I have, enjoyed in my last, 2 organizations. I was the dean of another organizations also. I was believing in that particular thing. So whatever you work, what is about your culture, and whether you stick to that, and if it is a very transparent, and it is, you're result oriented. So branding comes automatic. Probably, may not to hire any particular, organizations to make your, brand, image, better further. So this is all about that. And the next questions, that you are not, many of that, probably participants, and that's, second question. They said that qualification and experience may not be, that, important, rather, the skill. It's a personal view, specifically, maybe, many of you maybe agreed with that. But, if you don't have, qualifications, or experience, how you can, think about, skill? So skill comes, it is qualification. Qualification means I never say that your degree. Qualification means your hard work, your, whatever you have done, in your last, past years. So that is about qualification. I'm not talking about your degree again. So, this qualification and experience also counts, if you are interested, to contribute in your organizations, right? So that's all. And
Sure.
I should conclude by saying that, quality consciousness and, and perseverance is again 2 factors, which actually contribute in brand building. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, if I may.
Yes, please.
A wonderful point he has raised is qualification and knowledge. Without that, if now the disruption will only happen when there is skill and there is attitude. The combination of these two will make that person hungry. The qualification and knowledge have created people like rankers, like all of us. 99% of the population actually go through the same route. But there are enough examples where those entrepreneurs do not have the right qualification. They do not have the experience of doing it. But because they knew that skill, that I know how to do that. Now, example is sitting next to me. She said she is 3 years in the industry, 4 years. 3 years in the industry. She doesn't have experience. But then she's sitting amongst us, having the maximum number of LinkedIn followers. So, I think if I need that disruption, then I need that combination, which is the hungry. But if I want to go the route which has been the secured route over the ages, then I think the other thought process. They are 2 different thought processes. Otherwise, every parent would want their children to be doctor, engineer or lawyer.
Sure.
But this is the only population. Today if we see, अभी CA आया है, उस ज़माने में CA नहीं होता था. You agree with me? अभी तो liberal science, branding उस ज़माने में कहाँ होता था? So we need that disruption to happen. Liberal science has become the way. Now MBAs are also not that lucrative in the industry. You do digital marketing and they are earning more than us. So for that disruption, sir, I think we need to have different thought processes.
Yeah, I have some view.
Yes, sir.
Skill, qualification and attitude. Of course, attitude on the top. If you have attitude, you can get a skill. Like because I'm engineer, BTech and diploma, there is a 2 things. One is a knowledge-based education, one is a skill-based education, polytechnic. Engineers or doctors, you need qualification. If you want to teach engineering, if you want to do designing, you need qualification. You need attitude is something else. Attitude goes top. If you have attitude, you will learn the skill. Even if you have diploma, if you have attitude, you will learn you will get the qualification also part-time. So attitude cannot be compromised. Integrity cannot be compromised. But qualification for the certain job. You
Is
can,
required.
it is essential.
Is mandatory, yeah.
It's
to
mandatory.
practice a doctor.
And if you want to motor oiling and all these things, if you put an engineer, he will not able to do it. You have to put a skilled person. So it's a different skill required for the different thing. A different qualification required for the different things. So we cannot mix it.
Put
together.
it in the
I
same
think
table.
that question is wrongly read. Question says, and correct me sir, the question says if let's say it is absolutely not nullifying that qualification hona hi nahi chahiye.
Of course.
Let's say if there are 5 candidates and those 5 candidates have these things, what you will choose, what will you hire in a person for? If I have 2 people who both are MBBS, but one person is having a great attitude, I will hire that great attitude person. Maybe he would have had higher marks in MBBS. So I think I am coming from that point, not negating that qualification.
Yeah, it's a depend how you interpret all these things.
Sure.
Definitely, it is all open for the interpretation.
Agree.
You see, I'll rephrase what Janesh told. The question is not correct.
Yeah.
Qualification to screening level pe ho gaya. If you are hiring a person to run a steel plant, you will not run after a chartered accountant. So qualification degree का screening already हो चुका है. Before a resume is put before you to say yes or no. When you interview a person, say for example, you are then reviewing 5 mechanical engineers to run, say for example, a mechanical equipment. Then what you look into him is the attitude, commitment, and
if you have already qualification you have seen, so that was the first level. Then here it is the first level you have screening on. Of course, attitude and skill, of course, that is okay.
A wonderful question which is here is, does the panel believe that people today want to be treated as provider of service than just employees? I've just added the word just there. आइए साहब, human word मत बोलिएगा, वो आप बहुत बार बोल चुके हैं.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, there is no second thought on this. No, I was having a session and people said that people don't take ownership and they don't take accountability. Now, the thing is that it is not to be taken, it is to be given. Now, what we were talking about, the appreciations and all, as management, do we give them ownership so that they can take it? I have to have that gut and I have to take that risk to give them that ownership. That's when these people will start behaving like owners. That's when these people will start behaving like service providers. If I want employees, then they will do what I want them to do and go home. But if I make them owners, they will figure out their own ways. And hence this is again very complex science, because if I hire a wrong person, everything goes wrong. If the manager is not doing his job of giving the ownership, then everything goes for a toss.
True.
The problem is that today's managers are not behaving like managers, they are behaving like supervisors. And the huge difference is a manager will not do their job. Manager will say, you have to reach to Delhi, now figure out. And a supervisor will say that everybody has been going by train, take this train, 9 o'clock train, go there, and then they appraise them that tu 9 baje pahuncha kyun nahi. So
micromanaging and managing by objectives.
Yes.
If we may
So
add that term.
It's absolutely no second thought, at least from my perspective, there is no second thought. They are provider of services. That new generation only wants to be treated that way. That I am giving you my service, which is my brain, my expertise. Respect me for that and treat me like that.
True. Any closing comments from any guests before we bring it back?
I agree with him. The most important factor is the clear purpose in the mind of the people who are working with. If your purpose is clear, if you have guided him clearly that this is what the goal of the team, goal of the organization, goal of the enterprise, goal of the group. If that vision is clear, let him empower, let him do his job. You just need to vouch in case if there is something is happening, you can guide him, but do not interfere him, let him do this. Then many of the time there will be a fail. That not necessary that every time it will be success. There can be a failure, but there will be a learning. So every time there will be a learning, and then you cannot get into everything, but he will come out with many other things which you might not have thought of. So that's what I can take.
Wow. Yes, sir.
I have something to say, because they're really interesting, discussions.
Please.
Sometimes, I feel it is very difficult to, differentiate, between, say, qualifications, skill, experience, and other things. Now, if I give one example, it will be more, clear. Say, probably many of you know that when a fetus, when it grows, inside the mother's womb, so around, so when he or she attains around, say, 20 weeks of gestational period. From that time, it starts learning from that, what about discussion is going on, what about the mother is uttering, what about the environment is talking about. So what do you think? It's a skill, it's a qualification, it's a experience. And the same fetus when he's taking birth and doing something marvelous. So what do you say? It is a qualification or experience or the skill?
He is not going to let you go till you agree.
No, I'll try my best. So, one is the qualification. Qualification is what you get by reading books, by social conversations, sitting with your elders, knowing how things happen. These are all qualifications. So I have a certificate, I have a degree, those are all my qualifications. When I develop an ability to connect the dots and make that qualification in some use, that's what I will call as skill. No? Carpenter. I also know, I am a mechanical engineer. I know there is a lathe machine, there is this kind of tool, there is chipping of the wood, and wood is a bad conductor of electricity. All those things I know. But when I put that qualification in use, deciding that this is the way a chair has to be made, then I will call that as a skill, connecting the dots. And when I have made 15 chairs, I will say that now I have knowledge.
And experience, of doing it.
So, qualification, skill, and knowledge. And when I have, even above knowledge is the talent. When I can do this in different scenarios, if I can make that chair with a mango wood, with a mahogany wood, with a shisham wood, that is called as talent.
Okay. Now that's interesting definitions that are coming up, yeah?
So it's
well, sorry to interrupt, but the war of the qualification or skills or experience all sums down to what our previous panelist, the person who was sitting next to me, was always talking about, was learning. Unlearn, learn, relearn, and whether you get a qualification or you just get an experience out of it and keep applying it, add value to the organization. Finally, any learning which you do, if it doesn't add value to the organization, if it doesn't affect the bottom line, it's not going to really help. And that's something which we always talk about from the HR perspective or the finance perspective. Isme se return of investment kya de raha hai bhai tu?
There is one, I'm not remembering the name of that gentleman, but then one of the employee made a huge mistake and it had a big loss to the organization. He said, you have made $10 million loss. So the other person asked him, are you not firing him? He said, why? I just spent $10 million in training him. So why would I fire him? I'll keep him. He has learned a very important lesson.
Important lesson. 10 million का मैंने उसको एक lesson पढ़ा दिया.
Lesson पढ़ाया है. So that's the importance.
And I'll send him across the organization कि और कोई ना करे ये वाली गलती. True. I believe the energy in the guests have gone down as we are approaching the lunch time, and I would like to thank the panelists here and the guest here for waiting such a long, and invite Vikash on the stage for Where is Vikash? Yeah, here he is. Come. And आ जाइए sir. Photo खींचते हैं एक. And a good round of applause for you guys for being here and to the panelists. Thank you.